Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. So, Super Bowl tonight, really great game, great ending of the 2022 NFL season. Some things to discuss. If you are either an Eagles fan or just one of those, retards who just thinks everything is rigged, this video is not for you. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I don't care about it, and I don't want to hear from you. Okay? It's just, go do your own thing. Just stop watching this video. But what we saw tonight was the Eagles get exposed as the chump frauds that I've really felt they were this entire season. I am biased against the Eagles. I really dislike them a lot. I was rooting for the Chiefs anyway, but more than I wanted the Chiefs to win, I really just wanted the Eagles to lose. And it's, part of that is dislike for their head coach, who I don't like. I think he's a real douche, and also just kind of a dork. And but most of it is just dislike for their fan base. Every NFL team has an odious fan base. That's true. I mean, the Chiefs are no exception. They're horrible fans. Fans just suck. That's the kind of people who are football fans. The Eagles are the worst. Eagles fans are the worst. And so that's why I wanted to see them lose. Yeah. So the thing is, you might see like, well, how are the Eagles chumps and frauds? If they, made it to the Super Bowl and lost a close game. And it really depends on what you mean by fraud, because the Eagles absolutely are an elite team. I said that, there were 5 elite teams in the league this year. The 49ers, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills, and the Eagles. Those teams, so the Eagles are one of the elite teams. I agree with that. However, the Eagles are different than all those teams. Those teams are built to beat other elite teams. The Eagles are built to annihilate mediocre teams. And there's nothing wrong with that. If I was building a team, that's how I would build it. And I still think the Eagles have the best front office in football. But the Eagles are a team I always saw to me as a team that was going to look really good in the regular season, win a lot of games, put up great numbers, and then come up short in the postseason. Now, granted, they did make it to the final. They did make it to the Super Bowl, and they only lost the game by 3. So how can you say they're frauds? Well, because the score, it's not about the score. Okay, it's not about the score. It's not about your score, the score or stats or anything like that. It's about how you got there. Okay. And the Eagles all season long have had the stats. They've had the wins, they've had the stats, and they haven't got respect. And the reason they haven't gotten respect is because we all watch the games and we know what we see. And we know that when we watch this Eagles team, they're just not that good. Okay? They're just not that good. And and that's what got exposed tonight. What you saw is really flaws that have been there all year long. They finally ran into a team that was able to take advantage of them. Take advantage of those flaws, and not other teams have been able to consistently do that. No team is perfect. Eagles are still an elite team. They would still, win some games against other elite teams, but generally speaking, I think head to head against the Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, or 49ers, that the Eagles would do poorly. I think that they would win 20% of those games. You have those like sort of fluke games like the 49ers championship game. And congratulations to the Eagles for winning. That's that's more important than, having people think you're a better team. What's important is that you go out there and win. That's what's going to count. However, just because you win a game doesn't make you the better team. Doesn't necessarily always work that way. But the thing, that's what you could see, is that you saw the game tonight. You saw the Chiefs were clearly the better team. It was obvious to anybody who watched it. And and another thing that I want to say about the Eagles, and I say this not out of ill will towards the Eagles or their fans, this is just an observation, that I also I think it needs to be really understood that tonight, or really this postseason, this season, this was the Eagles' high water mark. It's only downhill from here. So on the surface, you think they've got all these young players. Their quarterback's only in his third year. He's still growing. Coach has only been 2 years in. This is a team that can continue to grow and improve. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. What you did is you had a team that kind of stars had lined up for, and a good team whose stars had lined up for, and, eventually it had to be this year. If they were going to win the Super Bowl, it had to be this year. I'm talking about this like current iteration of the Eagles team. I know they won a Super Bowl a few years ago. And, so, when we talk about that, what the Eagles do is they're very similar to the Cowboys. They've got this, very physical, powerful offensive line. They've got the best defensive line in football. And a lot of it starts there. You've got this dominant offensive line that you can't get any pass rush against it, so the quarterback's always got plenty of time. And they can run the ball. They can really do a lot at the run game because they can just blow people off the line. And then you've got, great receivers on the outside who can make big plays. Jalen Hurts can make plays with his feet. And you've got that defensive line, which just had, one of the best pass rushes of all time. So the thing is that almost everything the Eagles did this year is not sustainable. Okay? Now, the dominant offensive line play, that can be sustained. However, even that, you are not going to be able to get that performance level from your offensive line year in and year out. And you saw today, and some of it might have been the turf, that even the Eagles' dominant offensive line, when it's schemed against properly, a physical defense can shut it down. The Chiefs actually, went out there, lined up, took on the blockers, and the Eagles can't run out of that spread formation. Because most teams, if they want to run in the postseason, if they really want to do some like power running, they'll put a tight end and a fullback out there or whatever. But the Eagles do everything out of the spread, which is fine. But you can't like in the postseason, you're not going to be able to force a running game out of that. Okay, you need to be able to, either be able to set up the run with the pass first, or you need to be able to, put some bigger guys out there. And that's just not the way the Eagles play, except in really short yardage. And then, excuse me. So the most sustainable thing about how they've played well this year is itself not really sustainable, the offensive line. Then the other thing is, the next thing that comes to mind is their great defensive line. They've got a great front office. I'm sure that they'll have good defenses year in and year out, similar to teams like the Ravens. But you're not going to see that level. You're never going to see, the Eagles are never going to be able to put together a defensive line that plays at the level they played this year again. Okay? Absolutely not. And again, maybe tonight the reason they couldn't do it was because of the turf. I know it was the turf, I do think, was more of a disadvantage to the Eagles than to the Chiefs. But that kind of stuff happens. And, that's what I'm saying. The Eagles kind of needed a lot of luck or needed at least, but to any time to win a Super Bowl, you're going to need some luck. But, the Eagles maybe more than some other teams. When you don't have a Patrick Mahomes or even an Andy Reid, you're going to need more luck. And tonight the Eagles' luck ran out. So the defensive line is not going to be as good next year. That's a promise. The offensive line is not going to be as good next year. That's a promise. But especially the defensive line, especially. And so the receivers are still good, but that brings us back to the whole idea of the Eagles passing game and the real area of concern, which has to be Jalen Hurts. A lot of people are calling Jalen Hurts an elite QB. I could certainly see that case for it. He's definitely out there making plays. The problem is that when you watch Jalen Hurts, yes, the numbers are all there, okay? And he does pass the eye test. He looks good. However, when you really see what he's doing, okay, he has succeeded this year. The success he has had this year has come from playing in an unsustainable way. And what I mean by that is his success is heavily dependent on two things that you cannot do year in, year out. One is running, and two is deep bomb passes. Jalen Hurts is always going to be a mobile quarterback. He can run. However, if you look at other mobile quarterbacks, it's like a supplement to their game. With Jalen Hurts, it's a very big part of his game, particularly in short yardage in the red zone, is his ability to run. It's a very big part of his game. That is not going to be able to be sustained. If you saw it in the Chiefs game, the Chiefs essentially gave the Eagles one of those touchdowns because they were rushing the passer and they lost their gap integrity and let Hurts go on one of his runs, which you can't do against him. If you can't do that stuff and try to get the quick pressure, but you have to stay in your lanes. However, when you do stay in your lanes, when you do stay in your rush lanes, and Hurts can't run, that really limits his game a lot. A lot. And like when especially when you see somebody like Mahomes, when he runs, and there are exceptions, but usually when he runs, he's running to buy time to throw. And Hurts, when he runs, he's running to run. And he's not going to sustain it any better than Cam Newton sustained it, okay? Honestly, Cam was probably better at it, and he was better at it. The other thing a lot of Hurts' success does is Hurts is not just a runner. He also can throw the ball. But if you see, like, yes, statistically, he's very accurate. I get that, blah, blah, blah. But he's really not a drive the ball down the field kind of guy. Usually when they drive the ball down the field, like, yeah, he may have hit a couple, but usually it's like involved like a heavy amount of the running game, him making some plays with his feet. And I'm not saying he doesn't play well, but it's not really what he does. Really, when he scores, like his scoring touchdowns comes from him throwing these deep bombs down the field. It's a great tool to have. In fact, you have to be able to throw balls down the field. It's important. And but you can't sustain that. You're not going to be able to do that. That be the base of your passing game, year in and year out. Okay, and or game in and game out. And you saw that today. I mean, that's really what Jalen did. Was he had some runs and he had some deep bombs, but other than the first drive, he didn't do anything other than that, other than runs and bombs, because that's all he can do, and that's not going to work going forward. It just isn't, and you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at all the other elite quarterbacks. Okay, because every elite quarterback makes great throws. You got Burrow right now. So right now you got Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes. They all make great throws. And, certainly you saw Burrow make a ton of great throws in the game against the Chiefs. Now Allen will do it a little bit this year, was doing it a little bit this year, but especially if you look at Mahomes and Burrow's, none of their great throws, none of them were the deep bombs down the field. Not that they can't do it, not that they haven't done it, they do it, it's part of their game. But that's not what their great throws were. All of Hurts's are. That's the only kind of great throw he can make. And and that's not going to work. You know, he's not going to be able to sustain that going forward, and he might continue to have success. But I think what you're going to see is a guy who's, you know, more like I said, you know, like a souped up version of Dak or a souped up version of Tua. That's really all Hurts is, and that's all he's going to be. Okay, and now maybe he's more charismatic and likable than those guys, but no, he's not. He's not. He's not on the league of level of Mahomes and Burrow. He never will be. Okay, absolutely not ever, not ever, absolutely not. And that's what you're going to see in the future. Is the Eagles are going to become the Cowboys, which is just decent coaching, great front office, and a good but not great quarterback, and then usually a really good defense because you know, because they've got a good front office. And so, and just like and what do the Cowboys do year in and year out? Nothing. Now they sometimes make a run. They make threats. They have, you know, they play good games, and they certainly do well in the regular season. But come the postseason, they're nothing special. And that's what the Eagles' future is. Nothing special. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next.